Hello, fellow Minecrafters. Gearsaw Studios here. Today I'm going to cover 1.18 Experimental Snapshot 4, the fourth experimental snapshot for the 1.18 update, which introduces a couple changes, such as this calcite behind me. However, before we begin, remember, please like and subscribe. It really helps me out. So, with that, So, here we are on a familiar site now, which is Reddit. Hosted by Mr. Henrik Nieberg, who commented on one of my videos, is 1.18 Experimental Snapshot 4, where they've changed quite a few things, including desert temples now being partially buried, which was removed last snapshot. Jungle and desert temples can no longer generate on water. Badlands and deserts are larger and less likely to show up as ugly microbiome splotches. And terracotta bands go higher, and wooded badlands, grass, and trees start higher, which means just some better stuff with these sandy biomes. Made biome placement a bit smoother and less noisy again, which should result in less microbiomes again, and less harsh collisions shall occur between biomes. Removed surface freezing for hot biomes and raised the altitude for which snow layers are placed. This should result in less weird things such as jungle trees with snow on top. Made snowy slopes less dirty, which was actually not done last snapshot. Made extreme hills more extreme, fiddled with better placement of shattered terrain and extreme hills in general, to make it fit in with the terrain better. So, more like 1.17 and shattered savannas. Reduce the likelihood of rivers being cut off and turning into steep, dry river gorges and mountainous terrain. Instead, rivers will tend to either carve a fjord through the mountain range or raise the terrain to form a saddle valley between the peaks. This should make the terrain friendlier for both walking and boating. Also, this makes rivers wider. Reduce the number of the 3 decorative stones on the surface of biomes, which would reduce the amount of spray paint look on stone shores and other stony biomes. Stone shores sometimes generate with strips of gravel, diorite, andesite, or granite, and stony peaks sometimes have layers of gravel, calcite, andesite, and granite, which means calcite now has a secondary source of obtainability, which means the geodes shall be safe finally. More iron now generates, which gives iron farms a run for their money now. Swamp your swamps. Tweak swamp placement a little just to keep them happy. They are less likely to generate in the middle of oceans. And rivers and swamps tend to be shallower. And the beginning of the cave biome generation. Bigger copper blobs generate in dripstone caves, which means if you ever need copper, go to the dripstone biomes. So that's what's been done in this snapshot, which means we should look in game now. As you can see here on this crazy volcano looking thing, there's some calcite generating naturally, and some iron and some coal. But this means the mountains are going to be even more useful for mining, not just for emeralds now. Along with that, the granite generates in strips, and so does andesite and gravel, which means this is just a better place now. Also, less badlands will generate as microbiomes. As you can see, this is quite a big biome, rather than being tiny splotches that really just don't make sense. This is going to be a great change because badlands has different grass and seriously messes up terrain. Desert temples now are supposed to generate partially buried, but this is the second one I've found which has not been partially buried. So I'm going to look around for some more. The best way to find some in creative mode is just typing in random coordinates, waiting for it to load, and locating desert pyramid, or temple if you're on bedrock. So it can take a moment. And I've teleported to the same one. So I'm just going to look for some more off camera. It seems that third time's the charm, as this is partially buried in the sand. However, the key difference from Experimental Snapshot 2 is they aren't going to be completely buried sometimes, but they're not always going to be directly on the surface like in experimental snapshot 3, which makes more of a balance and closer to the 1.17 generation. Overall, I believe this is quite a good change because it makes them more templey, if you get what I'm saying. Over here in this swamp, there's a river biome that cuts through this rather watery terrain, and it extends into this swamp. However, it's actually swamp, and you can see that it's pretty shallow. And once it exits the swamp, it becomes normal river, as evidenced by the grass. So, swamps will no longer be plagued by rivers ruining the water color. Overall, I think this update's catering towards swamps a lot. They're becoming a lot better of a biome with this update. Over here in the small snowy slopes biome, you can see in the part that isn't cave that it's a lot less dirty, and the higher elevations are just going to be smoother overall with the lessened amount of dirt. Although I can't find a very good example over here, the snowy slopes are less dirty overall, which makes them just less of an eyesore and now just a snowy wonderland that everyone should enjoy besides the powder snow. Over here we have some normal extreme hills, which are definitely a lot more extreme. A great change if you ask me. Although the locate command can't necessarily find them for some reason. Either way, they're definitely very cool and they generate emeralds still. But they use the new generation for emeralds, which means you can just wander about or go to the higher elevations of here to find lots of emeralds. Which means villager trading isn't as necessary to get yourself that cool emerald beacon you probably want. Either way, amazing change if you ask me. Right here, I have a command block that destroys all the stone near me. And I've tried finding some copper in the dripstone cave I found, only to find out I was at the wrong Y elevation. So, if you want to use this command for yourself, here's the command. And it's kind of long. You might have to pause it. I might put in the description. So, I'm going to look around, and below me, there's a dripstone cave. This command can cause performance issues, though, so use it at your own. And caution in case you want to not have gravel crashing your computer. As you can see, some massive copper blobs are generating here in this dripstone cave. And also a lot of lag is happening because the gravel... Either way, this is a very resource intensive command, so don't use it lightly. As you can see, there are some very large copper blobs. So your copper roof will be very quickly completed if you start mining around in this dripstone cave. So if you just need to find some copper, look in the dripstone caves. They're very good for finding copper. Look at this vein right here. It's literally like 20 blocks. It's that good. So remember, if you need copper, go to a dripstone cave. It's an amazing area to find copper. Also, copper rates have been boosted, which you may have seen. Along with all this calcite, let's just take a moment to admire this new terrain, which is utterly fantastic, and why not give a round of applause to the Mojang team? Because they've been working very hard. This is why they had to delay the cave update, and also this calcite vein's very big. So, calcite will it will just be good now, because you won't have to destroy all the geodes in your area. Either way, let's just take a moment to admire this terrain. As you can see, the stone shore is a lot more stony. And it has a lot less andesite, granite, diorite, all that. Which means it's just not going to look so scattered. Over here, we have what looks like an extreme hill, generating very shattered savanna kind generation, and a nice little swamp over here. Either way, this is some very cool stuff. And with that, it's the end of today's video. If you enjoyed this video, remember, please like and subscribe. My production has slowed because school has started, and it's pretty intense. So remember, please like and subscribe. It really helps me out. And with that, take care. Go to Dripstone Caves if you need copper. Gearsaw out.